Good morning, my name is Paul Beshtin, and I'm a Public Information Specialist with Austin Resource Recovery. Thank you guys for coming to our operational update press conference this morning. You should have all received a paper with a QR code to our press kit, where you can find this morning's speakers' titles and the correct spelling of their names. First, we'll hear from Austin Resource Recovery Director Ken Snipes, who will share a storm debris collection update. Then ARR Division Manager Amy Slagle will speak about some city parks being used as temporary storage areas. Then we'll also hear from Nick Russo, the Director of Post-Disaster Environmental Services with Tetra Tech. And then we'll have a few minutes for questions after that. And at the end, we'll offer a couple of B-roll opportunities, and I'll provide you more information about those at the very end as well. And with that, I'd like to introduce Director Ken Snipes.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, Ken Snipes, Director, Austin Resource Recovery. And we're here today to give you an update on how things are going with the debris management and recovery effort here for the City of Austin. As you see, we're here at Circle C Metro Park. This is one of our temporary transfer locations where brush throughout the city is being brought to. It is then ground up and hauled away as mulch to our location at Hornsby Bend. The effort is going really well. We're happy to say that as of this morning, we will have ground or collected about 100,000 tons of material. For reference, 100,000 tons of material would equate to about 65,000 dump truck loads. So this has been a massive and extensive effort here in the City of Austin. Much more debris than we've collected at any other time for any other storm events or any other situations that we've had to deal with in terms of recovery efforts. So for more detail, I'm going to turn it over to Amy Slagle, Division Manager for Austin Resource Recovery. Amy has been largely the person in charge of coordinating this effort for the city. So Amy?
Thank you, Ken. Hi, Amy Slagle, Austin Resource Recovery. I'm a division manager for the department. As Ken mentioned, some of the city parks are being used as temporary transfer areas for our contractors. There are three locations, including Circle C Ranch Metro Park, Balm District Park, and Old Manor Road. They'll be used until the storm debris cleanup is completed. These sites were chosen. They're typically closer to the debris area. They also have large areas for trucks to offload, as well as for grinding equipment to come in and help grind the debris into mulch. These park locations are not available for public drop-off. The contractors must have a city-issued contract and approval to utilize these locations. So after the debris is brought to the park, it's ground into mulch and then transferred to Austin Water's Hornsby Bend Biosolids Management Plant, and it's used to make Dillo dirt from there. So we've had about 4,500 cubic yards of mulch that's already been brought to Hornsby Bend from these temporary debris sites. ARR is working with Parks and Recreation Department to minimize the impact to the parks. The parks will be returned to their normal state once the storm cleanup is complete. We also continue to use 311 service request information to determine which neighborhoods have material set out and ready for collection. We will continue to collect all storm debris that is properly placed at the curb. A 311 request being submitted for a specific address. There may be cases where we're not able to collect storm debris. It could be that the debris set out is blocked by a car, or it may be under a low-hanging limb or a wire. It also may be mixed with bulk debris, which is not part of this collection, and as well as it may be too far up into the customer's yard or driveway. So the contractors don't operate on private property. They only operate within the right-of-way. So I just want to remind residents to set out following the guidelines, and those can be found at austintexas.gov/storm debris. Please make sure that if the debris is close enough to the curb, it is not blocked by vehicles or stacked under low-hanging wires or limbs. One final note, if customers already had their semi-annual brush collection scheduled, we are still collecting those routes as scheduled. Thank you. I'll introduce Nick Russo with Tetra Tech.
Good morning, everyone. Nick Russo with Tetra Tech. We are a technical consultant working on behalf of the City of Austin to perform debris monitoring services from the result of the Winter Storm Mara. Part of that includes physically tracking debris as it moves through the collection process from residential areas to a site like this, then to final disposal, and we track and report all of that information in accordance with FEMA guidelines. I can talk a little bit about the way this site behind me operates a little bit. The debris collection trucks that come in from the 3 contractors that the city is using bring their debris here to this site. It's a DMS site, or temporary debris management site, and they unload the big black truck with the additional hauling container behind it at this site. Then that material is, as you can see, being ground up and processed, and then that is sent out for final disposal, as the other speakers mentioned. I mean, all of this material is being ultimately recycled into a mulch or beneficial use product. So far to date, I know amongst those 3 debris removal contractors, we are approaching, I think, 770,000 cubic yards of debris that has been collected from the city of Austin, which is very impressive. That has taken place over only a period of 23 days since the winter storm was here. In terms of other previous events, this is almost like the city of Austin was, has the effects of a hurricane, a Category 1 or 2 hurricane, with the amount of down vegetation that is in the city. And so this progress over just those 3 weeks is very impressive, and the city is making very good process in removing that debris. Let's see. I think that's about it. That's about it.
Thank you, Nick. We now have some time for a few questions. Please make sure and state your name and what media outlet you are with. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi there, Jayla Washington with KXAN. Do you guys know how many 311 calls you've gotten related to debris cleanup?
Yes, we've had about 39,000 service requests that have been sent in so far.
And a quick follow-up, for people who have not been able to get a response after calling 311, should they keep calling? We've kind of had some people reaching out to us frustrated just because, and I know you guys are super busy and overloaded, but they're kind of wondering what they should do. They've got this debris in their yard and they're not able to get any sort of response.
Sure, we're continuing to sweep the city, and they don't need to call 311 again. The contractors will be through to collect all areas of the city. And we're actually going to have a multi-pass event from this. So the first pass we think will be done within the next 7 to 10 days, and then we'll start that second pass right after that.
I'm Sandy Canetti with KT News. So regarding the first pass, does that mean all area neighborhoods will be covered in the next 7 to 10 days?
Yes, we are. That's the projection currently.
And you mentioned that there were about 100,000 tons of material collected so far. The processing plant for composting at Hornsby Bend said annually they collect about 12,000 tons. Now, there's a significant discrepancy. What's going to happen with all this material, and is there a fire risk with storing this debris?
So the material here is ground and then transported to Hornsby Bend. They do have locations out at Hornsby Bend where they can store this material and spread it out to help reduce wildfire risk or fire risk. Excuse me. I'm sorry. What?
They spread the
Yeah, they spread the mulch out over an area to help reduce the risk of fires.
spreading it out reduces the risk of fire.
Yes. I'm sorry. What?
So to the question of how do we manage the material once it's at the Hornsby Bend location, so there's a team of folks that would normally manage the material on a regular basis, and so basically what's happening now is there's just more of it for them to manage. So they go through a process of turning that material over so that it doesn't cause fire risk and to prevent those types of things from happening.
One more question. I'm not sure to whom it will be directed. Carolina from Univision. Taking into account that there's going to be severe, weather coming in the next few hours, specifically for Thursday, is it expected that these labor is going to be affected in some way? Is the city ready in case, because of the high winds, debris could move and that could become a hazard? Would you like to speak about that?
Yeah, to the question of how the weather will impact the current operation. So the biggest risk for weather with an event coming in as the one that we have coming is going to be wind, right? So the biggest concern is that we still have a few, we call them leaners and hangers, or those are branches that have been damaged that are still dangling from trees. So we could have an issue where some of those could pose a hazard. The workers will work to mitigate that. The biggest threat to the operation would be lightning. So if we're not impacted by lightning, more than likely the crews will continue to operate.
You said that this stuff gets really and then turned into dirt. What happens after that? What are we going to do with all this stuff now?
Could you repeat your question?
Yeah, you said the mulch gets moved and then it becomes dirt, right?
It becomes Dillo. It gets made into Dillo dirt.
Yeah, so then what do we do with that? What's the next step after?
That's an Austin water process. It's mixed with human sludge, I believe, and then I believe they bag it and sell it from there. So
And then, I know it's hard to say, but how much debris do you think we have left? How long do you think this process is going to go on for?
we anticipate that the debris removal process will be done by the end of April with all second and third passes. So and then we'll handle individual service requests out after April.
A quick follow-up to that. Okay, so tree trimmers are still also backed up. What if people can't get a tree trimmer out by the end of April when you guys are hoping to be done and they still got piles? Are you guys going to pick it up, or what should we do?
Yes, we'll still pick that up, and they could submit another request to 311 if they have additional debris.
Okay. And is there a way to track your request through 311? Because you're saying people shouldn't call again if they've already called once. I mean, how can they know if their request is being reviewed?
We are, as I mentioned, we're working through all of the city, so requests are in progress. So I don't have specifics on how many we're working at the very moment. But again, if customer does need to create a second service request, that's fine. We just we'll come and get it. So.
Can you explain what landfill cover is and if any of this could be used for that purpose?
So the question is, what is landfill cover? Landfill cover is usually materials that is used as part of the landfill management process for managing trash. This material is not used for that. This material will become a soil amendment. And so Amy mentioned the actual process that the city uses to help create that. And so that's the destination for this material, is that it's going to go to Hornsby Bend and it will become a soil amendment.
Can you estimate about how many tons of debris is in that huge pile and how do we mitigate fire risk issues here?
Well, I don't have the estimate on how much is in the pile, but if you look, you'll see a tractor trailer off to the side. So they're hauling that material out every day. And so the bigger trucks are bringing the material in from the neighborhoods. It goes through the grinding process, and then the tractor trailers haul out the mulched material, the ground up material, to the Hornsby Bend location. So the way that we mitigate the fire risk here is just by keeping the process moving. So this material is not here very long.
Are there any other questions? One more.
Is this one of the bigger of the three sites? Is this a bigger site or are they about the same?
They're about the same, right? So they're all about the same size in comparison to one another.
Were most of the 311 calls coming still west of Mopac?
I can't speak to that.
A larger portion is coming from areas west of Mopac. Yeah, the most heavily impacted areas have been Northwest Austin, West Austin, and Southwest Austin. Circle C had an incredible amount of damage as well, so that's primarily where most of the calls are coming from.
Thank you, guys.